to the AI and Data Governance podcast with Dr. Vega, where we explore the cutting-edge AI and data innovations shaping the future of the electric utility industry. I am your host, Rolando Vega, and today we have an exceptionally special guest joining us, Dr. Liang Min. Welcome to the AI and Data Governance podcast.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Vega. Can I call you Rolando?
Yes, you can, absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
All righty, my pleasure. I want to dive into your career journey.
I started my career at EPRI when I get out from the PhD program of Texas A&M. I would say that's a very challenging but very rewarding job, because EPRI is more like a think tank for all majority of the investor-owned utility in the United States and also internationally, right? Most of my colleagues, they are in the end of their career with a lot of industry knowledges and help other industry members to grow. I'm just a newbie, get out from PhD program, and I know that all the equations of mathematics, but where's the industry knowledge coming from, right? So it's a very challenging thing, but it's very rewarding. By seeing that, I learn a lot from my peers, my mentors, and also all the utility members EPRI has. I think we did a lot of interesting things, and two of them, one is regarding the phase measurement units, we call it PMU. That's an amazing technology. You can sample, you can do the 60 samples per second, very high speed, high sampling rate to measure what condition for the electrical power grid. You can collect a lot of data. Another topic I was worked on is on the probabilistic risk assessment. That's also a very interesting area, because if you're even looking right now, all the industry decisions are made by the deterministic. If you look into the NERC criteria, N-1 or -1, all deterministic based. But we're dealing with uncertainties from the renewables, uncertainty from the generation outage, uncertainty from the weather, all sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
How we can introduce the risk-based approach to the industry. That was a very challenging time. Then I left EPRI in 2011 and joined the National Lab and the Lawrence Livermore Lab in Livermore. And that also was a fascinating time, because I was, if not the first one, but one of the first few folks in the Livermore Lab doing the electrical power grid research, because they have a best dream job location for physics, if people understand what I'm talking about here. Right? And they have a fastest machine in the world at that time. If not the fastest, it will be second fast high-performance computing machine in the world. So my task is to apply the high-performance computing machine technology, hardware and the software have to the electrical power grid research. That time, the lab collaborated with three investor-owned utility, Pacific Gas Electric, Southern California Edison, and the SDG&E, create a program called the California Energy System for the 21st Century. And it really use a high-performance computing machine to help the utility do the modeling efforts, do the data scientific efforts, etc. And very good time. I work with a lot of very, very smart computer scientists that time, collaborate with them. And then, the time moved to the Stanford, and there is another amazing opportunity for me, be able to work the most famous scientist, professor, and the most influential leaders in this country and worldwide to work together on the energy transition problems. So we can talk more later regarding my work at Stanford. That's how my career started with the Electrical Power Research Institute, to move the National Lab complex, then go to Stanford.
Now going into connecting projects to people and society, we sometimes focus on these grandiose, problems, and we create fascinating technology, and we have a shortcoming in communicating what is the people impact. How do we improve the quality of life? How do we enhance, let's say, energy accessibility? Or how do we create new opportunities for individuals and families?
The low-hanging fruit is energy efficiency. And a lot of people ignore the beauty of energy efficiency. Right? But if you think about the LED bubble, right? And which help you to reduce the electricity consumption of the lights almost 80%, reduce 80%, right? And we should appreciate the technology breakthrough in the LED. It sounds like very simple, but if you look back like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, it's not there, right?
Yeah.
And then rooftop solar, right? Especially we live in California, the electricity rates going higher and higher. The breakthrough of the photovoltaic technology is really be able to, every single house be able to generate and utilize your own electricity, right? And then the heat pump, or this is another breakthrough technology. The heat pump itself is much more efficient compared to the traditional AC technology. And that's one thing. Really, the technology, advancement of technology impact individuals. I think another part of your question is really about the equitable energy transition or justice. Right. I want to go back to my previous example. Is really think about how the advanced technology can benefit everybody equally. The disadvantaged communities' adoption rate is almost 30% or 40% lower compared to the wealthy communities. Right. This is an equity issue. Right. In terms of adopt advanced technology to change their life.
Do you have any insights in terms of how do we start to close that social, supporting underrepresented communities in a way that is actually fair, not only equitable, but fair for them in the short term, mid-term, and long term?
Yeah, I think that the challenge you talk about can be relatively easy to fix, right? Basically, introduce more competitiveness to specific communities, etc. But I want to discuss more is regarding the equity side change is really coming from the regulation and also the incentive. But how you direct the incentive to specific communities, right? That's a lot of things we can do in this area. And the second is how you direct. We really talk about policy side is a stick and carrot, right?
Yeah,
and the incentive is carrot. Another stick. How you set the regulation, be able that the disadvantaged communities be able to have the equal accessibility of the advanced technology.
Yeah.
Right. That's also equally important. There's a lot of equity issues in the infrastructure investment. But the AI would help is really help you underline the things which you probably cannot analyze with the traditional data you'll be able to collect from utilities. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so moving on to barriers to innovation and cultural shifts. You often work at the intersection of academia, industry, and policy. What are the biggest barriers that you see to the widespread adoption of these innovative technologies and practices by utilities?
We're a highly regulated industry, as we discussed, right? So understand regulatory structure. You need to respect the privacy and the cybersecurity for your research, or the methods you use, or data you used. But if you think about the AI, right? If you go back to I'll give you an example, like back to 2000, there's a big energy crisis in California, and a very famous Enron, how they manipulate the markets, right? If you think about AI, it's very powerful, right? You can do the same thing. You really understand the markets, you manipulate some of the generation bidding strategy or maintenance strategy, you can manipulate the markets. Yeah. Whether or not we should allow this kind of AI technology to really manipulate, take advantage of the markets, right? That's another question mark, the ethic of the AI research in the power industry. That's another way I think could be a barrier, because AI getting very smart. I believe a lot of people is using this one not to really try to manipulate markets, but really try to gain the market benefits. If they can forecast the price in next hour, next day for the energy markets, especially in the region you're coming from in Texas, right, it's a very high price volatility in real-time markets, you can make a lot of money.
Well, that is huge. I mean, I could see how it would only take one of these instances to happen and, get into the news to essentially create the skepticism by everybody and to hold us back for another 10 years, yeah. Like what happened with Enron, right? Yeah. What does the future look like? And when you have models and the ability to create those pictures, as the saying goes, a picture speaks is more than 1,000 words.
Yeah, now I remember what it's called at EPRI. Now they call it the green model, right? And it's a tech economic assessment, a life cycle assessment, and which is a technology be very underappreciated in the decision-making process in many industries, right? But during this clean energy transition, we need the TEA and the life cycle assessment to help us to make a critical clean energy transition plan.
Yeah.
Because if you look at many companies and countries, it's very easy for them to say, I want to decarbonize by 2045 or 2050. I want 100% clean electricity by 2035.
Yeah.
But my next question asks you, what's your goal for the next 5 years? What's your goal for the next 10 years?
Yeah.
What's your interim goal?
Right.
What's your transition plan, right? And you need a scientific approach to help you create this transition plan. And that was fascinating me back to the, almost 10 or 15 years ago when I with EPRI, I started looking into that. Then when I joined Livermore, they are very famous called the Sankey diagram. It's also toward these directions.
Okay.
That's origination coming from Stanford, the Preco Institute for Energy.
Okay. Now, almost the last topic here, the pipeline for AI talent. How do we equip utilities with the right talent? There is a growing demand for computer science and electrical engineering professionals. Now, when we look ahead, to the job market, there is a very significant trend, especially for computer science professionals. And you guys produce a remarkable number of computer scientists. This is projected to grow at 15% each year, compared to electrical engineering, which is about 3% each year, but nonetheless, a significant demand. And this is by the labor, the U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics. However, there seems to be a mismatch between what utilities expect from these graduates and the realities of the job market, meaning I'm kind of alluding to how tough it is for utilities to recruit and retain this talent. And I often see, two challenges, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. You have the need for leadership within utilities that will inspire this new talent within the utilities so that they can be in love with the kind of things that utilities are doing. And then on the other side is, let's say, the more practical. A computer scientist graduates from the university, they look at the average salary. They're expecting nationwide, or in any of the cities, and they're expecting, hey, utility, you should be paying me this much because this is what the stats say, right? But then utilities are like, oh my goodness, if I pay you this much, where is the equity for our own employees and our workforce? Because the pay of a computer scientist is over here. The manager that will be supervising you is actually below you. And so how do we fix this?
Well, I mean, this is a long question, and I can have a long answer, right? I mean, I really appreciate learning from you regarding a lot of statistics, the data, the job markets, etc., right? So I think three things. The first is that this generation, the future generation students are quite different. Students, they are driven by the mission more than just income when they try to find a job. We do see an increase in percentile. That's one thing. And the second thing, that's a reality that the computer science, IT infrastructure, they pay way high than the power industry, than utility industry. That's for sure. But the but is, the utility industry have very stable job. You will not be laid off in middle 50s, right? You are the most valuable assets for the company if you're in your middle 50s or even 60s. If you look at IT industry, if you go above 35 and 40, you are very dangerous. The new wave of AI, sometimes it's very dangerous, right? Because you don't know what the ChatGPT tell you is accurate, not accurate.
Right.
But sometimes they also give you a very easy way to understand and analyze certain things. And if you type into the ChatGPT, help me program power flow solvers, I would say 90% is very accurate, right? If you give a tough question, give me an optimization, may not be accurate.
Right.
But the generative AI is really make the programming and computer science, all sorts of things much easier than before. So summarize three things. The mission for the new generation students is slightly different as older generations. They pursue more than just financial satisfactions. The second is job market, the power industry is very stable. Last but not least, the generative AI make the programming, computer science much easier than before.
I hear about this phenomenal event that is coming up in January 2025. It's a joint effort between EPRI and Stanford. Can you tell us a little bit about that event and take the opportunity to invite our audience?
Yeah, so we have been working with EPRI for many years, 3 or 4 years, during starting from COVID time, hosted more than 100 gatherings, virtual gatherings, in-person gatherings, bring the research communities, industry communities together to discuss everything about AI in utility space. It's a great platform if you are researchers, be able to share your research results with the broader communities. If you are industry professionals, come here to share with you your pilot project or the challenges you have, you want the research community to help you solve. If you are students, come here and mingle with professionals.
Amazing, amazing. And this is at the end of January?
That's the beginning of January.
Very good. We'll put the link in the description below in the video.
Appreciate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, final question. What would you say to leaders who are just starting out with the data governance and AI? These are leaders within utilities. What should they focus on first to make a real impact?
If you haven't started, I think really create we call the use case to identify the return of investment, very clear return on investment, and execute it. That's very important. Find a few use cases, be able to justify to your executive, to your board, to invest on this one. So on the stage is really how to scale it. And when you are on this stage, I think the following two things are very important. One is establish a utility enterprise-wide data infrastructure. Because if you think of utilities, there are a lot of data silos. Yeah. You have AMI, smart meter data, and you have SCADA data, you have GIS data, you have transmission data, distribution data, asset management data, and weather information is everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. But how to establish an enterprise data platform so that when the AI technology be able to talk to multiple data sets together for the specific application. That's one. And the second, go back to my previous comments, is really establish the open benchmarkable data sets. That's very important. I hope that the industry folks be able to work together as a team with the research communities and the government to get this platform done.
Dr. Liang Min, what a pleasure it has been visiting with you and hearing about your experience. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Rolando, for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. With that, folks, until next time.